Coming up on Bake Angel today, I'm going to show you how to make a delicious shelf-stable strawberry jam. So first of all, let's go strawberry picking. So we're actually really lucky here in Ontario as we have 2 strawberry seasons. We have summer strawberries that are available from the middle of June until early July, and then we also have our fall strawberries which are available from mid-August to the end of September. Now once you get home with your freshly picked berries, you want to give them a water bath first just to remove any impurities or dirt that's on them from the strawberry field. So I've just popped them in a large bowl of cold water with a little bit of white vinegar in it. Now we're ready to start preparing our berries for the jam. So the first thing I'm going to do is just cut the tops off of them and put them into a bowl. Now we're going to end up using quite a lot of strawberries here, and when we do go strawberry picking, we always seem to come home with an absolute ton of them. So we're actually going to make quite a few batches of jam today. Once you've started to cut them in layers, you then want to start to crush them as well. Now you can crush them as much as you like depending on the type of jam that you like. If you like really smooth jam, you're obviously going to crush them a lot more. If you like to have bits of the berries in it, leave a little bit like you can see I've done here. And keep repeating that process until you end up with 900 grams of crushed strawberries. So here's our ingredients. We have 900 grams of crushed strawberries, 1 pack of liquid pectin, a 1/4 cup or 60 ml of lemon juice, and 7 cups or 1400 grams of white sugar. So let's start the process. You do want a really large saucepan for this. You're going to dump all of that sugar in it. You're going to add all of those strawberries on top of it. And then also you're going to add that 60 ml of lemon juice. So basically for shelf-stable strawberry jam, you just need these 4 ingredients. And I assure you, if you've never made it before, it seems like it's actually a bit of a process, but it is honestly well worth it. And when you cost it out at the end of the day, you're going to get a lot more jam for your money than you would if you bought it in the store. And of course, it tastes a lot better as well. So you're going to go ahead and bring all of those ingredients to a boil over a high heat, and that's actually a rolling boil, which means that you can't stir it down at all. Once it's at that stage, you're going to add your packet of liquid pectin, and straight away you'll see that it stops boiling because we've obviously added a cool liquid into the hot saucepan. Give that a stir, and then you're going to have it come back to a rolling boil for another minute, and you want to make sure that you stir that consistently. Now you don't want to stop stirring it because obviously you want to make sure everything is cooking properly and evenly and that nothing gets stuck to the bottom either. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. You'll notice that because it is very, very hot, it will come back to that boiling stage very quickly as well, like you see here. But as I said, keep stirring. And also, I would advise that you don't let kids do this stage because it is extremely hot liquid. Sometimes it can kind of spurt out a little bit as well. So you just want to make sure that you're being very careful when you're stirring this. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the heat off. It's been boiling for a minute. I'm just going to keep stirring it a little while the heat comes out of it and then remove it from the heat completely. Now after a few minutes, you can see here that it's stopped boiling, everything is cooling down nicely, but we do have a foam buildup on top of the jam. Now this is completely normal, don't worry about this at all. You can actually avoid it by adding a little bit of butter or plant-based butter if you're dairy-free like us to the mixture at the start to stop it foaming, but we find it's just easier to skim it off at the end and pop it into a little ramekin like I'm doing here and actually eat it. I mean, it tastes really good. It just looks a little different and isn't so nice to have it in the jar with the jam once it's made. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just using a ladle to skim all of that off, and we'll actually probably eat this while the jam is in the canner and processing. So now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to can outside today. You can see here we've got this really long piece of wood that's propping up the side burner on our barbecue. And we decided we wanted to try canning outside on the barbecue for a change because it was such a nice day when we picked the berries. Plus it also warms your kitchen up quite a bit when you make jam inside. So we thought we'd take advantage and do everything the way it used to be done traditionally. Now we've actually brought all of the water to a boil, and our jars have been in it as well to make sure they're clean and sterile. Now as soon as you're ready to start making the jam, you're going to carefully take out one of those jars with the proper canning tongs and then start to ladle the jam into the jar. Now when you do fill that canner with water, you want to make sure you've got at least an inch of water over the top of the jars. That's to make sure that when we actually process everything, there is enough water in there to can them properly. So this recipe makes 7 250ml jars of jam. You can see here I'm actually using some larger ones, and that's just because our kids tend to go through the jam very quickly. So instead of making 7 little jars, we actually make 3 big ones and then 1 little one for the remaining jam. Go ahead and ladle it until it's almost all the way up to the top. You want to leave a little bit of space at the top just for the processing because it will expand a little bit. And then before you seal it, you just want to wipe off any jam that's ended up on the top so that we have a clean seal when we put the seal and the ring on top of it. So let's pop that seal on top and then our ring as well. And you'll notice I'm not tightening it too much. Just finger tightening it so that it can make sure that it processes properly and we can actually loosen it once the jam is made. Now I'm following the proper directions in accordance with Bernardin. If you are concerned about canning, you can check the website for them in the description below. And as I say, jam is probably the easiest thing to do if you've never canned before because the process is very safe as long as you follow the instructions that come with the liquid pectin. So now I'm just going to go ahead, fill the rest of our jars, and then we'll come back when we get to the last jar. So our 3 big jars are already back in the water. I'm just going to finish off this last little one. So this is a 250ml jar, and then we're going to be ready to actually start the proper canning process. So again, we're adding our seal, we're adding the ring onto it as well, and we're not over tightening it. I'm going to use those tongs again to pop this jar back inside the canner. And then you just want to check that the water covers those jars completely, which it should because we had already set that up properly before we started this process. You're going to pop your lid on and then let it come to a rolling boil and process for 10 minutes. Now this is the important part. You have to process it for 10 minutes to ensure that it is going to be shelf stable. So I suggest when you go do that, you can go cut up some more strawberries and get ready to make the next batch of jam. So it's been 10 minutes, let's have a look. Everything is still boiling nicely. What you'll do now is actually turn it off the heat and wait 5 minutes before removing the jars. Now because the canner is so heavy, what I tend to do is not actually remove that from the heat. I just turn it off because the burner heats up really quickly again. And then after those 5 minutes, I remove the jars and pop them onto a wooden board on the side. Again, whenever you're doing this, be extremely careful. Everything is very hot. You want to make sure you have a really tight grip on those tongs as well when you remove the jars from the canner, and then just set them aside. You don't want to tip them over or anything. Keep everything nice and straight and pop them down on a surface straight away. So that's the processing stage done. You can see here we do have some separation between the fruit and I guess the syrup, as you would call it, inside. Totally fine though. What I tend to do is as soon as we're ready to eat that jam, we'll just actually open the jar and stir it together, and we have really nicely distributed fruit in the jam. So this is one that's going to end up in the fridge. We're going to use this one straight away. That's why it's got a regular seal on it. And the rest are here, the ones that you saw me make outside. Now I'm going to let these sit on a towel for 24 hours undisturbed. This is all of the jars that we ended up making with all of the berries that we picked today as well. And once everything has cooled down for 24 hours, you can take the rings off and pop them away in the cupboard. Make sure though that all of those seals did actually work, and if you press them, they don't pop back at all. And now it's time for us to try our jam. So I've just toasted a bagel for this. You can use this jam in cakes and all sorts of baked goods as well. But I wanted to show you my kids' favorite way of eating this, and that's just on toast or a bagel. Look how gorgeous and red that is. You can see all those lumps of strawberry in it, and it spreads really nicely as well. And like I said much earlier, this is so different to the jam that you will buy in the store, and if you've never tried making homemade jam, I highly recommend it. Of course, if you don't want to go through the whole canning process, I also have another 2-ingredient jam on my channel which you can store in the freezer. That one is a great quick one to make if you've got some extra berries as well and don't want to have a lot of jam hanging around for the winter. So there we go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to have a go at making this jam, and don't forget to check out the recipe in the link below, which is on bakeangel.com. Thanks for watching.